It is 4:30 and I am going to call the meeting to order. It's our first meeting of 2025. And as I do that, I'd like to welcome our new board member.
Thank you.
And thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And with that, I would like to call, I'm always so bad with these names. Ms. Letitia Ryan Stroud, if you'd like to come forward and lead us in the pledge, and that will be followed by a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, everybody. Moving on to item number 3. We have the agenda presented before us. I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second. Moved by Mr. Merlino, seconded by Robert Garcia. Discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote.
Thank you. This doesn't show up because I had your. Motion carries.
All right. Moving on to the next item, we are in January, so it is time for our annual organizational meeting. At this point, I would like to open it up for the nomination for office of chairman. And as a board member, I would like to nominate Mr. Juan Ramirez to serve as chairman. It's been nominated and seconded by Mr. Garcia. Mr. Ramirez, are you willing to accept the nomination?
Yes.
All right. Are there any other nominations? All right. Hearing none, I will close nominations. Do I need a motion to close nominations? All right, so we are going to close nominations. And at this point, can we just elect him by acclamation or do we still need to?
Still need to have a vote. So we have a motion to elect Juan Ramirez as governing board chairman, and it was motioned by you and seconded by Robert, so. Right? Sure. And it's open for voting. Motion carries.
Congratulations, sir.
Yeah. I'm not ready for this one, but I don't have to gavel anything. We're just moving on to the second.
Just don't throw it.
Yeah.
If you do throw it, just don't throw it at me.
Yeah, well, it doesn't fly out. Okay. Well, moving on then to the next item, election of a vice chairman. So I open the nominations for the office of vice chairman.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Robert Garcia.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any other nominations? Oh, are you willing to accept the nomination?
Yes.
Okay, hearing no other nominations,
Close.
yeah, we'll close them and put it to vote, call the question.
Motion carries.
All right, well, congratulations. Good, Robert. Yeah. Okay. What's that?
Yes, it is.
Zero and zero.
Zero.
Yeah. Okay. Action of the governing board, okay, moving on to summary of current events, with the superintendents.
Thank you, Chairman Ramirez. Congratulations. You as the new chair. So I always have a great time. I did some presentations. I always have a great time when I go to Buckeye. I get a chance to visit with them. And so I got a chance to do an updated overview for West-MEC, and they're always very excited about the great things that are happening. And it's just really fun to get down there because there's so much going on in so many places around Phoenix, but it's nice to see what's happening at Buckeye. So got a chance to do a presentation there, went very well. Got a chance to present with one of our teachers, Amanda Farmer, did some technology and innovation updates yesterday at the ADE ESSA conference. Also done some tours since last we met. We gave a tour of the Southwest Welding Program to a new Glendale City Council member, Baldenegro. Great visit there. And then we gave a Southwest and Northwest campus tour to the State Superintendent of Idaho. So they're looking to move their state into the next level of CTE programming. And so she brought a board member and a couple of superintendents came with her. So we got a chance to view 2 campuses. And what's interesting about the state of Idaho, and it's somewhat like Arizona, but the state of Idaho's state board actually covers every educational entity. They don't have separate boards like for higher education or CTE. The board covers all that, which makes it a little bit easier and streamlined to be able to make it seamless in the transitions and the educational partnerships that they have. And so they've been able to squeeze a little bit of money out of the legislature in the last couple of years. And so they're open to take our ideas back to be able to take that to their board, as well as one of the challenges that they have is really getting their businesses convinced that high school students can actually be employed and do very well in the positions. They still have the idea of thinking that the adult population maybe is better skilled or better prepared for those kinds of jobs. And so they were looking to us as leaders about how you actually get businesses and industry on the board to be able to say that our high school students do that. I said the greatest way to do that is you show them data. When you look at the Intel, the Microsoft, the TSMC, when they did those 6 to 8 week boot camps, they had about a 50% retention rate, while our high school students at TSMC is at about 100%, between 90 and 100%. I think there's 9 out of 10 students that are still there. Now, so our high school students, when they get in the right career pathway, they literally stay in those positions. So I said data talks. So we had a great visit with them. Earlier today, we had our second group from the state of Mexico that came in. Gentleman's name was Manuel Salgado. He's the director of what's called ICATSN, which is for all their CTE programs in Mexico. This is the second group that's come up to our campuses because they're looking at ways in which they can improve the offerings and the pathways for their students in Mexico, because there's lots of business and industry that intend to come to there, especially right around in and around the border areas. We're looking in the Sonoran area to be able to build those career pathways. And they're looking to West-MEC to provide that leadership and the structures, the procedures, the processes we have in place to model some of their work after West-MEC. Lillian Alvarez was the director of planning who also came with them today. So we spent about 2 hours and 15 minutes touring the Southwest campus, looking at all the programs and services. And it's really kind of a shock when you come and see our tremendous facilities, and it gives them a sense of if you can see it, you can be it. So they can take some really good ideas back to some of their labs and some of their programs to be able to improve their program. So great tours. Other meetings, we continue to meet with Scott Holman, who is now at Amcor, who was previously at TSMC, and Deb Furlong with the City of Phoenix. The two of them and I will be doing what's called AZ Capital Times Morning Scoop coming up here pretty soon. And so we're working on planning for that meeting to be able to deliver some partnerships and relationships, CTE programming, the future of CTE, and kind of where we sit in the space that we lie right now. So very excited about that one. And then just as a reminder, West-MEC Career Academy at Agua Fria groundbreaking is January 27th at 9 a.m. And then the Southeast Campus groundbreaking is February 25th at 10 a.m. on our Thomas and 101 Road. That's all I have, Chairman Morris. Keep looking at Mr. Straka, sorry, sir.
It's fine. Thank you. Moving on to governing board. Governing board, any updates from the governing board? Robert?
So today, we, myself and another board member, we attended the governor's State of the State lunch. A lot of information. She did speak a little bit about education and her vision. But and great turnout. CTE is definitely leading the way in conversation.
So Lena, do you have anything?
In December, I had the opportunity to attend the ASBO conference, in Scottsdale. And, that was frankly a little disappointing, from my perspective. But I learned quite a bit about what they do, how they do it. But I have some serious concerns about the direction that they want to move. And yeah, Mr. Stein was there. You had the same opinion. Yeah. So it was certainly a learning opportunity for me. But I have some reservations about that. Additionally, I had today after the governor's luncheon, had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Superintendent Summers from PUSD and several of his board members. And told them that we, as speaking specifically for myself, very interested in collaborating with them where we can to make sure that we're both moving in the same direction as far as the students' achievement and programming of their education, getting them to the finish line, so to speak, or actually getting them to the start line of their adult life. So, and they're very open to that and want to continue those discussions. Mr. Summers said that he had met with you on several occasions, and we're all on, from that perspective, but on the same sheet. Excuse me, I have to step out to take the call very quickly.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Molina. Ms. Booza? Okay. Go ahead.
Well, we did meet with Matt on West. I put him in contact with my son who does off-road racing. And he's gonna bring 2 trucks over there and just say, here it is. Hit me with your questions. Yes, I've done the Baja 1000.
Mr. Ramirez, what's really cool is we finally got in touch with the Mara and Ready indoor go-kart track folks. We have a meeting now set up to our northwest campus of our para sports, because I'm trying to connect our para sports to get in to be able to work on the active go-karts where we need something that's been driven. I mean, ride it hard, let us kind of figure
Well,
out.
it's like what Matt said. We just kind of had a conversation. He said, and when my son was in high school, him and his friend went to one of these things down at the fairgrounds where the trucks were all over the place. And they decided they had to do that. And I went to his first race. It was about 20 years ago. And he rolled it, the very first race. And he lived. And I was okay with it from then on, because they put so many roll bars and all this, but he does all his own mechanics on it. So when he's racing, if he breaks down, the team might be close, but it might not. And usually they can just fix it. So it's a whole different thing. And like Matt said, these kids want to know how they can get involved. Well, that's the question that they can ask them. And he's bringing a couple of his kids who also race. So.
Nice. Let's go. Thanks, your son. Thank you. I was gonna say Chairman Straka, because I'm Straka.
So I think past month, I had the opportunity to come in for the West-MEC staff Christmas party. I had a chance to participate. Unfortunately for trivia, I was on the superintendent's team, and they were the winning team last year and I kind of dragged them down. So I apologize for messing you guys up, but I did get to walk through the office and everybody was decorated very festively, and the business office had the Peanuts theme and they had done a great job, but everyone did a great job. And so it was just kind of fun. And if you get a chance this year to walk through for the holiday party,
The decorations.
all the decorations, it's just fun. So I highly recommend it. So thank you for letting me participate and ruin your trivia chances.
Thank you, Mr. Stein.
Well, I didn't have an opportunity to go to the luncheon or the parties, but I went to the same meeting with Ed. I came away with the same thought process. I just thought they've got their own agenda, that they're pounding their drum, and I was less than enthusiastic about it. I did learn the law end of it that was presented was interesting to me. Gotta keep my mouth shut and drive forward and they'll be all right. Thanks.
Thank you. Just happy to announce yesterday, I met the in-house counsel for the Scottsdale High School District. And he had good comments to make about West-MEC. He's heard about West-MEC and the great things we're doing. So it's good to hear that. Yes, yeah. I think they're in EVET, right? I think they're in. Okay. Moving on to the information and discussion session. We have Dysart Unified School District CTE program.
No, we have called the public next,
Oh, call to the public.
and we have none.
We have none? Do I still have to make the call? No, okay. So now we move on to information discussion. Dysart Unified School District CTE program reports. Hi.
All right, good afternoon, Chairman Ramirez, congratulations. Congratulations, Mr. Garcia. My name is Jim Grisaber and I am the current technical education director for the Dysart School District. And we're here to kind of present what we have going on in Dysart. And, you know, really it's to thank you all for your continuous support of your satellite programs. And you get to see the great things that we have rocking and rolling. On our slide, Luisa, if you can pull up the slide. Just a brief overview of some data. We have our enrollment kind of fluctuates, as you guys have heard with some of the east side schools, enrollments are going down, closing schools. We're not closing schools. We have a huge growth out north of the 303, but we do have some of our areas that are aging out. But we have over 5,000 students that, am I controlling it? No.
Yeah, there's a.
Over 5,000 high school students of our 7,800 that are taking the CT program. We have 19 programs, each has a successful CTSO. We have 4 full-time middle school programs with DEPCO labs that have the 16 career cluster labs. Within that, 8 of the career clusters are feeders into our high school. So the programs, the labs that they have feed right into our high school programs. Our TSA passing rate, 90%. Yes, we all know the state average, and then last year kids earned over 439 industry credentials. Keep in mind, this isn't food handlers. These are the ADE qualified CCRI industry credential. So we have great things happening there, but you don't want to hear from me. So I have a plethora of wonderful folks from Dysart that are here to speak. First, I'm going to bring up, we have a brand new program that we brought on this year in partnership with the City of Surprise Fire. And so I'm going to have Chief Suburbi and Leah come up and talk about our EMT program that we have that's district-wide, where students from all 4 of our high schools get the chance to take the program. So Leah.
Hi there, my name is Leah Hall. This is one of my many teachers, Larry Suburbi. I'm a senior this year at Valley Vista, and I am one of the 16 currently, one of 16 in the Valley Vista's hosted EMT program. I took fire science freshman, sophomore year, and then I also took sports med, and that really ushered me into this. I had the choice between CNA and EMT, and I 100% chose EMT just because that's the career field I want to go into. Within the first 2 weeks, I was CPR certified, and just Tuesday, was that yesterday? It was yesterday. We were doing blood glucose monitoring where we pricked each other's fingers and monitored each other's blood. It's pretty cool. We've also done a bunch of backboard stuff. We've done many days of lecturing. It's a lot of coursework. It's challenging, but it's super fun. It's a lot of good people. I don't know. We have a lot of people. I've heard from many juniors that they're wanting to do it next year as well. So I think the program's going in a really good direction, and I think we have a lot of good equipment and a good startup for a really, really good program.
Yeah, I just wanted to take a moment to thank the board for the support of the school district program at Dysart. I've been involved with West-MEC education for a long time. I was previously the program manager of EMT at Estrella. We started the EMT program out there. You guys at that time were located on 51st Avenue in Indian School, for anybody that was around then. That was about 20 years ago. I've been fortunate enough to be involved with over 200 high school EMT students. Some of the career highlights for me is there's a captain for Phoenix Fire Department, which is I retired from there, I worked there for 23 years, named CJ Schreppels, that came through the West-MEC program. He's now a captain and a mentor and working with a number of our younger students. We have at Surprise Fire Department, we have 2 of our surprise firefighters that went through the West-MEC program as high school seniors, and we actually just hired another one. I'm drawing a blank on his name. He started the fire academy today, Mario Rodarte. Mario went through our program about 11 years ago, and we just picked him up as a firefighter. So these programs certainly provide a great opportunity. I can say that when I left EMT training in 2014, I didn't think I'd be back doing it again. But when Jim approached us, when I took over as the EMS battalion chief in Surprise and pitched the idea, I said, hey, I feel like I know how to do this. So one of the things that we are doing uniquely that I do feel like is worth mentioning is we have the only program that was different than when I was at Estrella. Our program is 100% taught. The educators all come from Surprise Fire Department, and like Leah mentioned, we have a number of instructors. I have about 15 different people that are involved in the program, so that we have civilians, sworn paramedics across all ranks, and those personnel literally come off of a fire truck or an ambulance and then come to class later that morning. So they get off at 8 a.m. They come straight to class to teach the program. So they're very passionate about it. The unique thing about our program is we are in the process of developing our paramedic program, which is going to be a nationally accredited paramedic program, which every year we know we will have 8 surprise firefighters going through that program. But for this West-MEC program that's through the Dysart School District, we have made a commitment to give, so you can have a maximum of 24 students, that we've made a commitment to give our students that come through our West-MEC program primary enrollment status when it comes to the paramedic program. So I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves talking about expansion, but we're in a good spot with what we're doing there and the foundation that Jim and the school district have laid out for us. It's a pretty amazing program at Estrella. It was great as well, but the students were coming onto a college campus. So I feel like this feels like a little bit more they're around their peer group, but they have people that are coming in. So when we have things like what your son went through, right? Where we have people that are worried about fixing the vehicles, we're worried about making sure that we fix your son, right? And that's what we're training students.
Yeah, really.
You know, that's kind of our pitch. And we just, again, the most important thing is just to thank you all for the continued support of the program. You will definitely hear and see from Leah in the future. She's one of our bright shining stars. She mentioned that we have 16. We started with 20. We don't change the standard, right? We say when somebody calls 911, they don't care that you're 18 years old and you just graduated high school. You're there to fix their problem on their worst day. So that's the standard that we train at. And this is one of the young ladies that's meeting that standard. So that's all I have. Thank you.
So what I'd like to do, if you guys are good with it, is after all of our students talked, and I'll have them come up, and if you have any questions for them, then we can just have them all at the same time. Is that cool with you all? Yeah.
Yes.
All right, thank you. And I have to tell you, working with Surprise Fire, it's been absolutely awesome to build a relationship. We have a classroom. We're getting ready to put a lab behind the classroom with a connector. Makes my heart feel really good when I go over there and there's 6 firemen in the classroom working with our kids. Firefighters, sorry. Firefighters. Yes, sorry, firefighters, not firemen, working in the classroom. So, all right, next up, we have our marketing program from Shadow Ridge High School.
Okay, hello everybody. My name's Emma Donegan and I am a senior at Shadow Ridge High School and I'm the VP of Hospitality for our DECA chapter.
I'm Megan Nelson. I'm a junior this year and I'm VP of Career Development. A big part of my job is to make sure that everyone is good on their upcoming competitions. And so our Club DECA is co-curricular with our business and marketing classroom. We learn a lot of real life skills and get some great job opportunities through working at our school store and stable.
And as Lena was saying, DECA is a co-curricular organization for our business class, and that DECA has given me many opportunities the past 4 years of high school, some of which being able to travel to Florida, California, and even last semester we were able to go to New York, which was lots of fun. And we got to learn just kind of about like the history of food trucks there. And it was a really great learning experience. Yeah, so in a couple of weeks, we have our district's competition coming up. It's a great opportunity to network with other schools and get really familiar with what you're gonna compete in at state. State is our big competition. If you qualify at state, we get to go to nationals, ICDC for DECA, which is super fun. This year it's in Orlando, last year was in Anaheim. It is genuinely like the best trip ever. You meet people from all over the world and it's just super fun. And adding on to that, even at ICDC, some of our fellow DECA members have made friends in other states and they still talk to them to this day. So, yeah. But we just kind of wanted to say thank you all for the support and
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Right, so next up, we had Angelica coming from Dysart High School Sports Med. She is ill today, so her teacher, Mr. Lance Schuler, would like to read the statement for her that she wrote before he came.
Awesome. Thank you, board, for having us. Yes, Angelique got sick unfortunately, but she did write me something to read for you guys. Being the teacher there, it's a very, very good honor to be able to take sports medicine and deliver to the high school level, where I'm from North Dakota and they don't have that. So it's something that they are truly missing out on that you guys help provide here in Arizona. Angelique said, taking sports medicine has allowed me to further my interest in healthcare and to work in that medical field. It has given me a sense of what college will look like and what the real workplace will look like. It has given me more confidence and reassurance in knowing that I have chosen the right medical profession. I also feel that has given me a head start for those classes that I will need in college and essential life skills that I will need along the way. Sports medicine has taught me anatomy, medical terminology, and many different injury treatments, prevention, and care for general health. I feel also honored that I've been a part of this sports medicine program, and I am grateful for all that it has prepared me for in my career.
Good.
Thank you, Lance. All right, then next up is Miss Savannah.
Hi everyone, so my name is Savannah Garcia, and this year I actually sit on the Arizona FCCLA State Executive Council, and I serve this year as a state president. And as well as you guys, I sit on the board of directors as the youth representative, and it has truly been an amazing experience. I've been here at Dysart for the past 2 years, and as I can say, they have been super helpful. My advisors, other staff at district have been amazing at keeping up with times, maybe keeping up in contact and communications with that, because there's a lot of things going on. Of course, the FCCLA, DECA, HOSA, there's so many things that sometimes things get lost along the way. And as you said, Julie Ellis, the state director, has said some of these schools have been maybe seeing some less in morale, but that's okay because we're hoping to get that right back up. Because obviously FCCLA is a wide organization, so is DECA, so is HOSA, and we want to keep that alive. And the 5,000 members in FCCLA has grown. Last year it was 4,280. This year it's about 5,000 members, which is amazing. It's an amazing growth. And seeing as HOSA too, we just worked with them for Red Zone. And that was a big conference we had at the Red Zone Cardinal Stadium. And we had a great output from what we thought that, hey, like, it's a new conference, but we weren't sure how it was gonna go well. And it really did go well. And the district had helped me like see like, okay, you know, it's okay. We'll help you guys out. Like, we'll get things out there, communication, marketing, like DECA. It's truly amazing to see in my journey with the CTSOs have been such a unique experience. The opportunities I have to go to Denver, to go to Seattle, and the networking opportunities I have, spectacular. I've met people from Pennsylvania, from Oregon, from Tennessee, and the connections I've made, I still talk to this day. Even as they said back here with DECA, like there's friends I've made and connections I've made that I still have to this day. And it's really important to me to keep that. And having the CT program helps me keep the longevity of that. I can go back to maybe other advisors, teachers, other members and come back to help my district. And I would love to do more of that. And just Dysart has been super great about doing that this year. So yeah.
Thank you, Savannah.
Thank you.
All right, guys, come on up. So stay here, so Leanne, come on up. So before I conclude, and I'll finish up whenever they get done, but as you can tell in Dysart, we have wonderful CT programs. It truly is a partnership with West-MEC. As our kids get to do the CTSO travel, our trip to New York, we funded a little bit of it, and they had to fund the rest. But talk about great experiences. We've had students that didn't go east of the 101 at times. And so for us to be able to give them some real world experiences and get them outside of town is absolutely fantastic. So with that, I'll open it up if any of you have any questions or.
The girl that spoke and I forgot your name. When did you decide what you wanted to do in life?
Honestly, I'm still trying to figure it out. I have no clue. I'm a senior, so I'm kind of at that threshold where I have to figure out what I have to do, but I started with fire science, so that was kind of the area I want to do because I've heard a couple statistics, but around like 85 to 90% of the firefighter calls are medical. So I was interested in that. I've always been interested in medical, but I have kind of decided that I'm gonna do something medical just like the past couple of years. But it's been a really big decision and
And how did you find out about the program?
um but as soon as I did hear about it, I think I heard about it from Mr. Bershaber. I was like, yes, sign me up, because I was looking for like some of the other CT classes and the CNA class at Willow Canyon, I could have done that as well. But I knew I wanted to do something medical and they were like, there's this too. So I was like, let me do that, please.
Okay, thank you.
So are you intending on doing so like being a medical assistant, a nurse?
My current plan, I do want to go into the military and do something medical there. If that doesn't end up, then I do want to be a firefighter and the paramedic world in that. But I don't necessarily like have the desire to go into a hospital or anything like that. The pre-hospital setting is kind of where I want to be, but I'm not opposed to anything else medical.
I think going in the military might be a good thing.
Good idea.
I like to address all the folks, the HOSA, DECA and those groups. So I know your director, Julie, very well. And I can tell you the work it takes to organize those is impressive. They are constantly busy making arrangements and constantly looking for things. So I can take this back to her. And one thing I would like to know though, what can she do better?
Honestly, Julie has been great. I've known her the past 2 years being state officer these 2 terms. And she's always made it a meant to come out to the, obviously on conferences, talk to us, not just be a face in the crowd and have her name on the script, but she always been really like her communication really beyond. Like I love that she talks to us and it really connects with us to see what she can do better. She asks the same question, but truly I want to see her more in terms of like training with us. Cause I think us having Mr. Coons and like Sandy, understanding their names and knowing that there are state directors for certain CTSOs, maybe seeing their big boss just as Julie and maybe seeing her more kind of integrated into the class, not classroom, but integrated into our kind of FCS world, family consumer sciences. But truly from my standpoint, she's done an amazing job so far and I can't see what she does in the next terms.
Like funding for trips.
Funding, I do understand every CTSO is different from my perspective. Again, I'm in FCCLA and I'm not too familiar with like DECA, HOSA or anything like that. FCCLA, we've done really good. Our budget this past year went really well. Of course, we're nonprofit, so we were able to kind of cut back and help out. But I know this year we personally moved our conference to the Tucson Convention Center. So that kind of was a little iffy, again, because members, as we see nowadays, members are kind of reluctant to pay. Maybe they want to see their school pay a little more. So I think maybe Julie's talking to like the directors or like the boards of like their district. Because I know the morale has been kind of low on that end. And again, fundraising is incredibly hard in just a short amount of time because you have a camp in September, a conference in November, and then a bigger conference in around March, April. So I think funding wise, I think it's more talking to the boards and talking to our administration and kind of getting their feel on that. Because I know from like a student standpoint, like my board standpoint, is trying to get them out there without breaking the bank. So I think it's more just like communication, just like, hey, like where do we stand? Why is this happening? And where does our money actually go? Like where can we implement that?
For the funding from DECA seems a lot different. I think for our funding, it's really good. We just went to New York City, as mentioned before, and that trip was a very expensive trip. But genuinely, it was like the best trip of our lives. All of us were so happy to be there and learning like how things started up in New York City with food trucks and like just seeing like the Rockefeller, like everything. It was just so amazing. Also, we have a lot of our money for our chapter at Shadow Ridge comes from our school store, The Staple, which is there's a merchandise side and the food side. That makes a lot of money and that definitely helps us out through all of that.
Yeah, so Member Garcia, if I can say with it is culinary, they do some of their caterings, which kind of help pay for. When it comes to regional, state, nationals, the CTE department pays for it all with our support from West-MEC. So the only thing we can't pay for is food when they're down there, so then their organizations raise the money for the food. But with our partnership with West-MEC, we cover the cost for.
Did you get to see Ground Zero?
Is that working?
There's two big
Yes.
squares
Yeah,
that
we
fall.
saw the 9/11 memorial. It was a great experience. It's definitely very emotional. You can kind of feel it when you walk down there, like your heart is just heavy and you're like, oh my God. But yeah, it was really great to see it in person.
My niece was working there at the time and there was a border where no one could go in there. She was on the inside working, she worked in a bar. They kept the bar open day and night for the people who were fighting that mess.
Are these programs eligible for, I forget what it's called, but the state funding contributions that you can do as a tax deduction?
Tax
sorry.
credit.
Tax
credit?
Yeah, they are.
So, yes, so people can donate money to tax credit and specify on their tax credit form what they want that money to go to. Yep.
And one other question. Since all the instructors in your program are all firefighters. How are they funded when they come to the school to do?
So that's a good question. If you want to throw money my way, So we, one of the things I love about Surprise, I mentioned I've been in Phoenix for 23 years. The support of our city council is pretty amazing. So this actually was a vision of the city council, was to have some fire-based and EMS-based homegrown programs. The reality is we don't have any guarantee that any of the 16 students that are in the program are ever going to work for the city of Surprise. They've invested, the city council allocated about $50,000 towards that program. And that's what I use to pay my instructors. So my instructors are all on overtime when they go over there. I put them into the system and then they get paid. So I would say that is a challenge because like, you know, if we expand to where I think we could go, which would be up to 4 cohorts in a year, because we're Tuesday, Thursday from 7:30 to 10:30. So there's the option to go an afternoon section on Tuesday, Thursday, as well as Monday, Wednesday morning and afternoon as well. I would say that's where we would be capped. But for sure, I can't ask the city council to allocate $200,000 in overtime towards those instructors. So we're just very fortunate that the city council sees the need to invest in this younger generation. And even if they don't ever eventually work for us, the fact that they're going to carry, they were from Surprise, Arizona, came through our program and now they're serving the community. My son's in Germany. He went through the West-MEC EMT program. All right, so he's serving in the United States Air Force over there as an EMT and a firefighter. So, you know, there's a lot of reasons that we're passionate about the program because we have so many success stories just within the city of Surprise.
And member Molina, I can tell you, we started the conversation. I met with economic development a year and a half ago before the program started. And it was a year and a half in planning and it was terrific when Chief came on to help us continue that planning. But whenever city council came and said, hey, we'll fund the program for you teacher wise, you know, we couldn't ask for a better relationship with the city of Surprise.
Thank you. Very nice.
Thank you all. Thanks for having us.
All right, so my final, so in closing, Chairman, again, CT works for all. Whenever you look across the district in the partnership with West-MEC, CT works for all kids. I especially want to take a minute and thank you all for the continued funding and support of our transportation program. I know Dr. Spurgeon is probably, you know, has talked about it over time, but we have 4 white buses, one from each campus that transports kids to the Northwest campus throughout the day. Without that program and without the support of West-MEC to be able to provide that funding for the bus drivers, then we have kids that wouldn't be able to take classes at West-MEC. So I just want to take a minute and thank you all for that continued support.
That's good to hear.
Yes, and then finally, as over 10 years, our partnership with West-MEC has done really great things for kids. And so I just wanted to take a minute and I look at the staff out there that I've had the chance to work with. It's been absolutely remarkable and West-MEC does a terrific job and Scott, thank you for your leadership and thank you to all of the members of the board and the staff that continue to do great things for kids, whether it's satellite or it's central. So thank you.
Moving on to recognitions and celebrations. Yep, first Keith, yes.
Who's saying this, Chairman Ramirez, members of the board and Superintendent Spurgeon. Thanks. So tonight I'm happy to introduce you to Mr. Joseph Moreno. He was nominated as West-MEC's Employee of the Month. And I made some notes because I didn't want to miss any of the important things that I wanted to talk about for Joseph. So West-MEC is our facilities Joseph is West-MEC's facilities maintenance manager, and nearly 2 years ago, he was hired for a position in our department as a project specialist. And he quickly made an impression on myself and our team and the rest of the staff here at West-MEC. And I can say his work ethic and enthusiasm for his job is unmatched. And we had an opportunity where we needed to divide and conquer, and I needed somebody to assume some of the duties that I was doing in the facilities department. And we posted the position. Joseph applied for the facilities maintenance manager position. So we did some interviews and he was clearly the candidate for that role. So he came in prepared, understanding the task at hand and ready to answer those needs that we had in that position. So I wanted to list off some of his accomplishments that and it's just a fraction of some of the things that he's done that's contributed to our department, but implemented numerous safety and operational standards, assuring care and control of our district equipment, department organization, standardization, and mostly communication. Some of those points with that, for example, our equipment, our trailers, our forklifts, heavy equipment, things like that. We didn't really have a process for accountability with that equipment as far as checking them out, making sure people that are using them are trained on them properly, that they understand how to use the equipment. So he took the lead on that, made the documents, made checkout sheets, made these plastic sleeves that everything goes into. It was just, I mean, every detail, perfect. So in addition, he built and improved upon our preventative maintenance system by creating inspection documents for the equipment that on our buildings and our campuses. He's heavily involved in providing data to me for our cost analysis for budget planning every year in the maintenance department. He's out there, boots on the ground. He sees what's going on. He's working with our teams on the campuses and knows better than anybody the condition of our buildings. So he reports that information back to me. We put our heads together and build our budgets for our department. He's become a certified facilities best practices trainer. So he works with our insurance provider, the trust, and he'll be going in the future to some of our conferences representing West-MEC as an expert in the field. So he'll be training other facilities folks and working with them in that capacity. He also became a trust certified forklift trainer. So he can train any of our employees who might need to use a forklift, whether it's our maintenance personnel or our instructors in the programs who they do regularly use that equipment. So we want to make sure they're doing it safely and also following the procedures for checking them out, making sure the oil level is good and they're safe to operate. So he's taking the lead on that and seeing it through. And I wrote down a few words to describe Joseph. So articulate, patient, trustworthy, focused, innovative, positive, eager, and proud. So, employee of the month. Congratulations.
Yeah, sure. So first and foremost, I give all glory to our Lord Heavenly Father in heaven. Without him, I wouldn't be here and have this opportunity. So first and foremost, I get that out of the way. I'm an extension of you guys and what I do, what I provide to the district, how I contribute. Without the resources that you guys are here as well as the audience have provided, has given me the ability to do my job to its full expectations and beyond. So not only do I appreciate this award and this recognition that I'm receiving, but this also is an extension to you guys. Because what you guys do in this room and in this building, as a district, allowed me to do my job to its full extent. So I also want to give congratulations to a few of you here for you guys, this is what you guys got today as well. But also a big shout out and kudos to you guys and what you guys do for us as employees here at the district in order for us to, in order for me as for today, to make this possible. So thank you to you guys as well. And yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
Good job.
Good. Flip the.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, girl, boy, girl, boy.
Show the whole arrow.
There we go.
There we go. Now we're fixing.
A good side.
All right, 1, 2, 3. And then one more. 1, 2, 3. Oh, no.
Cheers. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Your opening statement said it all.
Yes.
That's true.
I did it.
It's hard, yeah. Update on employee benefits plan for 2025. Oh, no. Oh, it's done. Oh, there we go. That's right.
Recognition, Dr. Parsons.
Oh, that's right. Sorry about that.
Good evening, Governing Board Chairman Ramirez, Dr. Spurgeon. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to present Southwest Campus IT Security Program for recognition. Mr. Getz, can you bring your students up here? I'm gonna let him talk about exactly what this is, but Mr. Getson has been hosting a team with the Cyber Patriot competition for several years. This year is the closest we've gotten. We're in the running to go to the national level competition, and I'll let him explain it. Yes.
Surprised me one bit.
The Governing Board, Chairman, Superintendent, distinguished guests, we're honored to come tonight to recognize these young professionals behind me, and I'll tell you just a short, brief description of what Cyber Patriot is, but I'll let them tell the story because I like hearing things from the students' voice. And so they'll tell you tonight their name, what home high school they are currently at, what their role is within the team environment, and then what they have actually done to get to this point. But Cyber Patriot is the 17th year that it's been running. It's a middle school and high school competition. It's unique in that we do a lot of offensive competitions where we're red team and we're breaking into systems and we're doing things like that because we have to be able to do some of the bad things to protect us from the bad guys. But this is a unique one because this is a defense competition. So it's about, defending critical infrastructure. We live in Arizona, we have Palo Verde, we have lots of different types of critical infrastructure. So this competition focuses on not knowing what's coming, being given scenarios, being given systems, and then protecting those from bad people breaking into them. So with that said, it is a long competition. It starts actually around August. It's still continuing right now. They're a little stressed out because they're preparing for the semifinal round, which is after the state championship round. And this is the round that determines whether or not we're one of the 12 teams that get a chance to go to Maryland to compete in front of Homeland Security, in front of Northrop Grumman, Cisco, and a bunch of others. And so right now, out of thousands that started, we're in the top 200. A lot higher than that, probably. I'm not giving us enough justice. But with that said, I'm gonna turn it over to the team. I'll let them tell you a little bit about it. We'll field questions from you guys afterwards, and we'll be happy to take any of those questions.
So my name is David Rodriguez. I come from the Tolleson Union High School District, and my role in the Cyber Patriot team is the Windows Server Specialist. So I analyze the DAT files and the server files, and we analyze abnormal logins in the Cyber Patriot VM that we are given. And that was my role in the Cyber Patriot team. Hi, everyone. My name is Daniel Kuna. I am a senior at Yonker High School, and I'm also in the IT security program, obviously. My role in Cyber Patriot is I do the Cisco networking challenge. And essentially this challenge is Cyber Patriot, they give you like the software, I guess. It's like a sandbox for networking. So you can pretty much do whatever you want with networking. And they tell me, like, they give me instructions, you know, I have to secure, I have to configure, and I have to troubleshoot the network. And they also give me like some little questions, some quizzes about just network topics in general. So I did all that. I did that last year too, and I used the experience from last year to really push me out. This year I'm like used to it. I think it's pretty fun now. But we're also partnered with the Cisco Networking Academy, and that gave me a lot of the resources and a lot of the practice to be able to, you know, get ahead, get us some extra points for my team.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for inviting us to come here. My name is Tyler Bravo, and I go to the Odyssey Institute right down the street from our Southwest campus. And my role in Cyber Patriot was mostly to secure Windows 10 and 11 operating systems, which is what you guys are using on your computers right now, I'm assuming. So my job was basically to make sure that everything was configured correctly and none of the bad guys could get in, much like the IT here at West-MEC does. So I'm really thankful that Cyber Patriot has given me the opportunity to do what we might do in the real world. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Deacon Hunt. I also attend the Odyssey Institute, which is right down the road from the Southwest campus. And my role in the team was the Linux specialist. And Linux is an operating system. It's fairly technical, more used for server infrastructure. So my role was to secure it, make sure that there were no vulnerabilities that anybody could access in there. And yeah, thank you guys for having us.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Tim Juan Perez. I'm a senior at Yonker High School over in the Buckeye District. My part in Cyber Patriot was also to help out with Windows and server along with Tyler and David. But also I would have the spare machine running with us so that we could Google anything we needed. So methods to implement security or just any terminology we didn't know. Or also some big parts in it was our forensics questions, which we're going to answer for some points. You would also have to look into different newsletters or just different logs of information for that. Thank you.
So a couple of tidbits before we turn it over for questions. I was telling you guys, this is a very long competition, and so a couple of things to note. Each round of Cyber Patriot, and so Cyber Patriot starts off with a couple practice rounds. Then they have another practice round, then they have a sneak preview, then they have round one, round two, then those results are gathered, and that's how they break you into tiers. And so there's a platinum tier, a gold tier, and silver. They don't do bronze, but silver is the low tier. And so when we started out several years ago, we were so happy to make silver, right? Like, yes, we made silver, right? We made a tier. And so then we worked our way up to gold last year, and we won gold at the state level last year, first place in Arizona, but it wasn't good enough because the gold tier does not qualify to go to the national final. So they only picked the national final from the platinum tier, and these folks won not only first place in Arizona, but they beat out Basha, they beat out every high school in Arizona that competed at the platinum level, and we were number one in platinum. So that's a big contribution to these guys, and it takes a lot of time. They're only in class for 2.5 hours. Each round is 4 hours long. So they've done multiple 4-hour rounds, and they're getting ready to do another 4-hour round next Friday. So they'll come in early to our class, they'll start, and they'll continue that 4 rounds because of that 4 hours. Because once they start, the clock is contiguous, and so it runs until the 4 hours is up. And then you have to submit everything. If you don't submit, you get penalized and there's game set match. That penalty could be the difference between making it to the next round or not. So with that said, I'm gonna open it up and ask any questions that you guys might.
I'll start with the question. So talk to me about your teamwork. How do you guys keep it together? Like you guys all have different parts of the puzzle, but you all work together to get to this point. So what's the magic sauce? How did you make it happen?
We collaborate through our Cyber Patriot VMs as we're all sitting together. So if we have a question, we ask one another, hey, do you understand this log file that I'm reading? But that is not being configured correctly in the log file. And the way we solve that is just we communicate with each other. We have another member, Drew Lambert. He's not here today because of an FBLA meeting. He is very wise with C++ and anything web application based. So if we have a web application problem, we usually ask him, and all of our specialties in both Linux, Windows Server, and Windows 11. Our CCNA is Sam. So anything that's networking, we ask each one of our teammates because each one of our teammates has a speciality in that field of interest in IT.
I have a question. Do you all have experience in the different platforms or do you all just specialize? For example, you do Linux, you do Windows, etc. Or do you all cross
A
train?
lot of us, well, all of us have gone through the same courses, so we all know how a computer works. We know how an operating system works. We've gone through 2 networking courses. We went through a CCNA course, which is what Cyber Patriot focuses on. And then we also just wrapped up a semester focus on networking. And 3 of us on the team, I believe, have recently gotten our Network Plus certification with more to come. So if Sam, for example, he doesn't know something, he can come to us because the rest of us know about networking. So it's really cool that while we're focused on one area for Cyber Patriot, if we need it, we can move to other areas as needed.
Excellent.
So multiple of you have CCNAs?
Not yet.
Not yet. So that's what you're working, one of the certifications you're working toward. What about CCNEs or MCSE? Microsoft certified engineers and Cisco certified engineers.
Also working towards those.
So those are objectives. Okay.
Currently, we are focused on the core 4 of content, which are ITF plus, A plus, Network plus, and Security plus. Most of us on this team here have gotten our A plus and ITF plus, which is now Tech plus. Some of us have gotten our Network plus, I believe it's 3 of us, and I have my Security plus, which allows us to understand concepts in both security and networking to support our team through Cyber Patriot.
Have you all worked on any penetration testing?
They're doing it. Well,
Is that part of the competition?
It's not part of this competition. It's part of the National Cyber League and other competitions. And it's the next curriculum piece for these folks. So they're gonna finish up Security Plus. The last course in their curriculum is an ethical hacker, certified ethical hacker course through EC Council.
Especially with Skills USA coming up, the cybersecurity, the cybersecurity area focuses on penetration testing.
Yeah, you asked a good question about CCNA and things like that. So since they just completed that second part of the networking curriculum, as they're doing the security part, because everybody coming out of the security program wants a security certification. But for those, like I know there's a couple of these folks that are currently working on that, and that's going to be toward the end of the program because that is a pretty difficult certification. It takes all of the content over the course of the 2 years to build that foundation to where you're able to do it. And so we've actually had about 7 students complete their CCNA over the last 2 years. And so that is the highest number in the 2-year period, and we expect that to go up. And we do want to take the quick moment to thank the governing board for their support of our program. We're currently in a remote location across campus as we build out our wonderful lab, which is about 99% complete. We're going to probably be able to move into our existing space next week. And so they've continued this even though we've been all over the place. And so we know that the new cyber lab that will open up around spring break is going to enhance what we're already able to do. And so right now they work in groups. You guys ask questions about how they work together. Well, they're doing it very linearly. So when we move into our cyberspace, they're gonna be able to do it way more in a collaborative unit. And so we expect not only great results, but we expect to raise the bar even further. And so we appreciate you guys allowing us to have the facilities and the the technical ability to be able to do what we do. So thank you so much.
To what, excuse me, to what extent are we working with industry partners to give these young people the opportunities for some sort of internships that would put those skills to work at, obviously at an entry level, but.
So for internships, my long-term vision, and I think we're gonna be able to leverage what we're doing currently to make this happen. So the next iteration of our program is just that. I envision a day and a day soon to where everybody that comes out of the program is getting sucked up and they just are gonna come and grab them on the way out the door, right? Internships are tough because people need people full-time right now. Like what we're seeing with internships, people that decide to go into college, if that's the pathway they want to go, rather than just go to work, because we can do either. We're gonna have some students that go right to industry. We're gonna have some students that go to a 4-year degree program, and we have a pretty high rate of folks that do just that. Most of the folks that are going to go to college, they're gonna get those internships there, but what we're seeing people come right out of our program, go straight to work, get a collection of certifications, and within 2 years, they're making 100 to 125 grand. So Microsoft has hired 28 of our students over the last less than 2 years. And so with data centers being built all around us, I just sent an article to our principal today and some other folks. Buckeye is building one of the largest data centers in the country through TACT. I think they're out of Denver, Colorado. It's going to have, it's hard to even imagine this number. It's 2,069 acres of land that covers 20 million square feet of space. And so it is the largest in the country. And that's coming right south of the Buckeye Airport. So it's coming right here to Buckeye. So it's gonna be right in our backyard. And so those are the types of partnerships that we're looking to make. And so it's a great question. We have a really strong advisory board, and that's gonna help us steer us in the right direction. But it's something that's really the next level where we need to take our program. So any help or any recommendations, anything, I know Superintendent Spurgeon sends me things all the time, and I try to jump right on them, but our facility, when you look at what we've done at the Southwest campus, I would challenge anyone in the country at the high school or the college level to match the capability that we're gonna have. And so folks are already jumping on board to see how they can help. And we already approached Amazon in the past. Amazon didn't want to play ball because of a lot of back-end politics, but Microsoft has been very open to that conversation. And they actually come into our classroom. They were there last semester, and they're gonna come back, and the conversation is gonna get a lot deeper.
I feel like we're all saying state payments. I don't understand this stuff. I was born 50 years too soon. But that teacher that you've got, he is phenomenal. And you guys are doing great. I feel good.
Thank you. Thank you. Any additional questions before we wrap it up? Yes, sir.
So I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Let me start with that. But you know, when we talk about cybersecurity and breaking in, there's been a lot of talk about these large drones. Couldn't the large drones, because you can't get to a building to get into the internet, but is there the opportunity to fly a drone over? And I know Homeland Security, drones have gone over Palo Verde. I can go into the internet through a drone and break through that first wall. Is that an opportunity for cybersecurity to use a drone to kind of backdoor and kind of fast track getting in? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I myself have actually experimented with technology like that. I modified a DJI drone to attach a Raspberry Pi to it, which I connected remotely to do an SSH tunnel. And I was able to attack my grandma's network. She was over 100 feet away, just using a command line through my phone through an application like Termux.
So my question is, so you're confirming what I think is these drones are really used that we're hearing are probably corporate espionage.
Absolutely.
Is a very real threat that we as a cybersecurity group aim to tackle in a later state in our careers.
Okay.
Interesting.
Good question.
So
I won't talk
I'm
to you
not
about-
crazy.
Yeah, we won't talk about the fact that you can sit outside the airfield and intercept communication in airplanes. Now, it's against the law, but it's easy. And anybody could do it, so there is an absolute risk there, and that's what we always talk to students about. We teach ethical hacking, right? Yes, we have to do bad things to teach the good things, but at the end of the day, there's that fine line, and so every student's gonna make a choice at some time in their career. They're gonna use it for the benefit of good, for safeguarding our country, or they're gonna use it for bad. One day they're gonna get caught, and they'll either be making hundreds of thousands of dollars, or they'll be in jail for a very long time, so you make the decision, so that's the decision. So thank you.
Quick question. So what do you anticipate in this round of competition that you haven't seen in the previous rounds?
We actually have there's another web challenge that they've introduced to us through Boeing. We're supposed to like secure one of Boeing's terminals that they use to control their airplanes. It's also another web-based sort of forensics-based challenge. So those are gonna be new to us in this round.
We have no idea what to expect, but we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna get through it.
This is aviation and air traffic, and they were like, whoa, let's go. So like, it's gonna be new. So this round does have about 3 different things that the previous rounds did not have. We have no idea.
Is there ways to integrate the unmanned aerial program that we have with what they're doing? To do what you were talking about, Frank?
So I'll kind of step in.
Let the principal step in here.
On my campus, one of the things that I talk about a lot is when we instruct them, we tend to instruct in a silo. But that's not how the world works. In our tour today, we discussed, like, whenever I have the opportunity, I encourage my teachers to collaborate with people from other disciplines, because these gentlemen, when they go out in the world of work, they're gonna deal with all sorts of industries and all sorts of people, and they need to know how to talk to them. So that specific partnership we haven't engaged with. However, if Mr. Robert or Mr. Chambers wanted to come over and do a thing, we would host it. So, yes.
And then Aaron, you want to talk to Mr. Garcia about the dogs we talked about today?
Oh,
He
yeah.
might be excited about that.
Oh, don't you tell me.
I'm getting
Oh.
I'm in the process of my 3 quotes for the robotic dogs.
Yes.
And so business office will be receiving that shortly.
I wanna be there when you get it.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we need it.
On the table.
We'll make them and make them come over.
So you have a dog that can do cyber too?
Yes, it's gonna be our dog.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's amazing. I love it.
What's up? I know.
Celebrations, but just for fun, that was the first time Marcy heard about these robot dogs. He's excited to see this purchase order come through. So that's pretty exciting. Continuing with our awards quickly, wanted to recognize our PR team, our communications team, who received several awards from ASPRA, the Arizona School Public Relations Association. Our communications and PR team, year in and year out, really mops up on the several awards from this organization. I think we kind of take it for granted because they win so many of these awards, but that's not normal. They're winning these awards because of the great work that they do. So the awards that they're going to be formally recognized for on February 12th will be an award of excellence for the annual impact report, the campus culture videos and central program videos, and an award for merit for their medical assisting article. So again, just tremendous valuable work that our communications team. So we want to recognize Mr. Cook and his PR team.
And lastly, I want to read a statement. This month is School Board Recognition Month. So January School Board Recognition Month, a time to honor our governing board members' remarkable contributions to West-MEC and Arizona's public education system. The dedication, leadership, and countless hours of service by our governing board ensures student success, advocacy for public education, and represents the voices of our communities. So I want to say thank you to Ms. Linda Boosum, Vice Chair Robert Garcia, Mr. Ed Molina, Chair, Mr. Juan Ramirez, new board member, Mr. Terry Steins, Mr. Frank Straka, and board member Barbara Wiley. So I say thank you as Board Recognition Month for all the contributions you made. Those orders, Chair? No. It's double times zero.
Okay, so now we're ready for update on employee benefit plan for 2025-2026. Ms. Kathy Mays.
Good evening, Chairman Ramirez, and congratulations to you and to Vice Chairman Garcia, and welcome to Mr. Stein. I look forward to working with all of you with the new role. So if you ever have any HR questions, please feel free to give me a call. Okay, so I'm gonna give you an update on what's been going on with our move potentially towards self-insurance. And so as a reminder, why we are looking at possibly going into a self-insured plan is because it allows us to customize our plan to meet the needs of our workforce versus just having a one-size-fits-all kind of canned self or fully insured plan that's given to us by an insurance provider. It also helps us to save on our healthcare dollars because since we're paying our own claims, we'll have a lot more control over that spending. And if we ever needed to get into a position where we needed to use some of this funding from M&O for raises, for example, now we would have additional funding on reserve that we could use for that.
And just keep in mind, for example, the way it is now, we may write a check for our health insurance of $1 million per year. Well, if our incident rate only costs us $250,000 or $300,000, all that money is lost as a West-MEC fund because the insurance companies get that money in self-insurance. If we only have $250,000 in claims, that's all we pay out. So it's a net gain of, $720.
And as a matter of fact, as a follow-up to Dr. Spurgeon's comment, Marcy Rodriguez and I were looking at those numbers just this afternoon. And just as an example, last year we spent roughly about $3 million in contributions and we have $1.7 million in claims. So that kind of gives you some idea of the difference in the money we could potentially be saving. So
How did that track with prior years from a historical perspective?
well,
No, okay, sorry. That's a very good question. Yes, I had the same question. So what happened different last year was we're providing family coverage. So we're paying more in premiums. So, and before we started paying those larger premiums, it wasn't such a difference. Okay, which is when I came in and Kathy and I were looking at it with our current provider. My eyes got real big and I thought, how dare you come to us with any kind of increase? You should be giving me a rebate. But prior years it had been, like probably 80%, which is average, right? That's about the average difference that you see in the industry. You pay 80% of your claims are, your premiums are about, 20% more. That's kind of average. But this 50%, that's what led us to bring this option to you and have this conversation, because I think financially, if we are going to continue to offer family coverage to our employees, that this is the best approach that we need to take fiscally.
Thank you.
So can I just follow up, going back to that 1.3, usually on there's a reinsurance threshold. Did we have any claims out of that 1.3 that would have hit the reinsurance threshold where we would have been reimbursed? So it's actually lower. You understand, or 1.7, but do you understand my question? Like, it's $1 million claim, anything over 50,000, the insurance company pays. So really, we might have gotten.
Include the money's back from any catastrophe.
Yeah, so maybe that would help the board understand where because the reinsurance cost and how that works.
and we do get a report of our high cost claims every month, so we're able to track if there are any of the claims that are creeping up over, I think the threshold is $50,000.
Okay.
And we monitor that, and we will monitor that when we're self-insured, because what you want to see is, are these claims going to be long-term? So do we need to plan for that You know, is it something that this person is gonna have for the rest of their lives, or was it just a one event type of an expense? So,
And then in a self-insured plan, we'd also have what they call stop loss. So that we would basically be capped on the amount of money that would come out of our self-insured plan. So if there was $1 million claim, anything over, like, let's say $150,000 wouldn't be taken from our funding. It would be paid for by the insurance company, and you pay for that. You do pay for that stop loss coverage.
And keep in mind, you're gonna see these same slides over and over again as we continue to re-educate. Because if you don't look at it for a little while, sometimes you kind of forget some of these things. So you'll see these similar slides each time we talk about this, just as an update.
And some other advantages are just transparency, making sure that we're monitoring the claims. And then I think what will be a critical difference with a self-insured plan is that we'll be able to monitor our high-cost drivers. Our expectation of whatever consultant we use, we need for them to let us know, are we seeing more diabetes claims? Are we seeing more musculoskeletal claims? Because that will allow us to be more proactive and put in a diabetes prevention program or safety training or something like that. So that will definitely be a plus.
Wow, all of that stuff, in order to be able to produce the right coverage.
Well, yes, and we will have, our consultant will bring folks out that will help us analyze the claims themselves. But they're also giving us that feedback so that we can work with them.
Reports and those analyzing.
Yeah, they do give you the reports that I've seen working with them in the past is they actually break down all of the claims as they come in. So you'll see cancer claims, you'll see, like I said, musculoskeletal, you'll see diabetes, yeah. And then you work with the wellness plan to help. Yeah. We'll continue to offer plans to meet the needs of our employees, of course. And it also allows us to have control over fluctuations in healthcare spending. If you remember 3-4 years ago with COVID, that caused a huge spike in healthcare costs, right? So being self-insured and paying our own claims, we can kind of navigate those waters because we're paying those claims ourselves. So things like hospitals coming in and out of network, that's not within our control. But again, we could say, well, hey, we don't want to work with that hospital anymore. So it gives us that level of control over our dollars.
Is there a lot of people that are doing this, a lot of companies that are
What,
doing
self-
this kind of a.
Self-insured. It really depends.
Make a big difference about.
Yeah, it really depends.
We were talking
You have
about
to
this last
analyze
year.
your claims. That's really gonna be the deciding factor. If you have a population that's older, for example, you may not want to do self-insured because they typically have higher medical costs. So, you really.
I won't make any comment on that.
Definition of older.
Experienced.
Mature.
But couldn't we also craft a plan where we provide benefits for people who are eligible for Medicare? We supplement that so that we get those high-risk employees off of our expense and we provide them something comparable that won't harm the district, just like ones that are eligible for state retirement insurance as well.
That's all stuff that we can consider when we work with our consultants and they're putting together the proposed plan for us. So the 3 providers that Dr. Spurgeon, Marcy Rodriguez and I have been discussing are, of course, ASBATE, which is our current provider, Kairos, and you heard from them if you were here last year, and Valley Schools Benefit Management Group. The results of those conversations with ASBATE, they typically will not give us our rates until March. Which is kind of a disadvantage for them, but they will not move on that.
But they're also affiliated with ASBA, correct?
That is correct. Kairos, they will not do a self-funded option for us. However, they may consider possibly lowering our cost to kind of stay in the game, but self-funded off the table.
For the first year. For the first year.
Correct.
Could they at least give us, hey, this is what the first year is gonna be because we're not gonna do self-funded, but this is what year 2 could look like so that You know, because if they're, I think you're saying it's viable, could we get everyone to give us some kind of 2-year something so we know whether we want to consider them, I guess, is really what I'm looking for.
That's a great question, Board Member Straka, and I did ask for that. But they strongly said to me that they would not recommend self-funded for West-MEC, only because of our size. I can go back to them and say, this is what our board
Size
is.
is too big.
I'm sorry, we're too small. Cause there's not a lot of lives, there's not a lot of employees in the plan to mitigate some of that cost if you have large claims. Yeah, so, but I can go back to them and see if they need.
Could we partner with anybody else?
I'm sorry?
Could we partner with other school districts?
That's
Well, does the other one school district be a co-op?
Yeah. There are districts that have gotten together and done a self-funded plan structure. You just almost would have to be apples to apples, because you wouldn't want to partner with a district who had really high claims, because that's gonna put us at a disadvantage.
Because they would be looking at us to make their numbers better and then have them make our numbers worse.
Yeah.
So it'd have to be kind of measured apples to apples, with some of us very similar to us, or it wouldn't be advantageous for, at least for us to do that. It would cost us more.
Yes, and you have to remember, I would be hard pressed to find another district that offers family coverage to their employees.
Huge. I don't think I know of any.
No, we don't. So that does put us at the cash cow in that equation.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Okay.
The Valley schools.
All right, and then Valley Schools, they are willing to entertain the self-insured option with a consulting fee. So if we go with Valley Schools, they would be our consultant, and they would work together with Marcy, Dr. Spurgeon, and I to put together the plan design. We have retained them as our consultant, and we have our first meeting this Friday.
Who else?
You're right.
Very
Choice.
Who else are they supporting?
Who else does Valley Schools support? I think I don't know the exact number, but they have a large number of school districts. They also cover municipalities. I want to say they're a little over 100, like maybe 113 organizations that they work with. So they're very, very well known in the Valley for self-insured.
So you're pretty much.
Is that the one that Paradise Valley and Peoria use?
Correct.
You're pretty much leaning towards them.
Well, we'll see. They're gonna meet with us on Friday and we'll hear what they have to say.
Yes, they're gonna put a proposal together, because one of the things that we've heard loud and clear from all of you is we want a self-funded program. And the other two organizations that we spoke with don't have that option for us. Kathy and I have both worked with Valley Schools at other districts that we've been. So we're very familiar with their process. We're familiar with how
Their service.
how their services work. And we have relationships with the people that work and run that organization. So I think it would be very collaborative for us.
That is all good, but there's really no other competition anyway.
Correct. I mean, if we want to go self-funded, you are absolutely correct. Otherwise, we are back to the position we're in with ASBE in a pool.
Okay. That's good that they have a good reputation.
So when we look at costs, one of the popular things right now in Washington, the minority party is saying they want to get rid of PBMs because they're a middleman that's just eating up fees. Are we looking at getting rid of a PBM as a way to cut our costs?
A PBM.
Pharmacy benefit manager?
Oh, a pharmacy benefit. You mean for the consultant?
For the health plans. That's the new thing is, hey, they're getting about 20% of the pharmacy costs just to be the manager of the middleman. Can we eliminate that in the self-funded to reduce our costs?
When they come up with their fee structure for their administrative fees, what you pay for is the use of their network. So our employees they wouldn't have a Valley Schools benefit card when they go to the hospital or to the doctor. It would be United Healthcare or whichever, provider they select. So the pharmacy manager is under their administrative fees. So I don't think that that would be something that we would have to negotiate out or get lower. It's all part of their charges to us. Bless you. Bless you. Okay, moving forward, so we are gonna take a look at, the information that comes back from Valley Schools this weekend. The insurance committee is scheduled to meet January 23rd. So if any of you are interested in serving on the committee. No, the week of the 27th the date is actually the 23rd. And we plan to make the recommendation to the governing board in March. We may want to do or consider a study session. So then that way we can answer all the questions that you would have. We'd have a representative here from Valley Schools. Of course, Marcy and I and Dr. Stewart will be available as well. And
we would be there as observers,
I'm sorry?
as observers.
Yes. What time is it? It's 3:30, and it's gonna be here at the district office in the multipurpose room.
And just as a side note, we can't serve on a committee. Because if we do, if that comes to the vote, because you've served on the committee, you can't vote on the item.
And that's why I am. But you're more than welcome to attend.
Chairman Ramirez will do the same process we did with the performance pay, is that you'll actually have another opportunity for discussion before it comes as an action item.
Thank you.
That's good.
This is a side note. I think the only thing that would be helpful is I hate to make, ASBATE always drags their feet and we never get the cost until the day of our board meeting.
Yeah.
That has historically been the way they operate, and I almost wonder, do we need to wait till April to make an informed decision? Because I know they're not self-funded, but if they're 50, I don't think they're gonna be a whole lot substantially less, but it would be nice for staff to be able to have those numbers not an hour before the board member meeting where you could actually analyze them, put some time together to make a recommendation to the board.
I think we could almost go look back at last year's analysis and kind of make a
But
comparison.
we're family and we're now almost half is profit for them. So we should, as Marcy said, we should see a rate decrease, but we're not gonna know until March. And if we wanna make a decision in March, or the second Wednesday, there's a chance we don't even have the rates.
Or we could do the study session in March and possibly do the vote in April, but. Because we can't issue contracts until after March 15th, so. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, so the next item, Dr. Spurgeon, Superintendent, mid-year goals report.
Yes, just a brief statement here, as you know, I'll bring a mid-year update for my goals and my evaluations so the board can see. So I have individuals coming up to talk about the 5 goals. Jared will do goals 1 through 3, and I think Kathy and Marks will do goals 4 and 5. Some goals we have information on right now, some goals won't be done until the end of the year. So I always like to provide just an update on where those goals are and how we're progressing.
Chairman Ramirez, members of the board, excited to be here tonight to just provide just a snapshot of where we're at mid-year with our goals and the progress we've made along the way. In a nutshell, it's looking very, very good. We're doing a fantastic job. We're progressing well on all of our goals. So starting with goal number 1, I guess I'm driving here, sorry. Goal number 1 here is our credentials. Our credential goal for 90% of our completers within 1 year of program completion to achieve that high value credential. And remember, the high value credential is defined as those preferred and required credentials that our advisory council has told us that are those preferred and required. So it's not just any credential, it's those high value credentials that we're targeting. So a few things here that we've done throughout the first semester. We've done credential parent nights, so led by our career services team. We've done over 9 sessions, virtual sessions, invited parents, and during those sessions, our goal is to educate parents on what the credentials are that their students will be earning, help them understand and learn more about it so that they can be alongside us, helping support the student in that credential attainment. We also email credential information to parents. We did that this year for the first time to email that out to them. So we did the optional parent nights they could attend in person. We also sent all of them an email with, hey, based on whatever program their student is in, here is the credentials that are upcoming. Here's when they'll test. All the information again to try and get that engagement on the home front to help support us. We also have students sign credentialing pledges, so that our career services coaches go around at the beginning of the school year, when students start in a program and they sign a pledge to that credential, and it just is a way to help motivate the students to set that goal, right? That, hey, this is a credential you're gonna be shooting for, and I'm committed to taking and passing that credential. We do that, and it's again, another huge step in the process. Not to mention that not on here, of course, our teachers every single day are preparing students with the technical content and the skills aligned to these certification tests. And our teachers do a fantastic job of preparing those students. As a result of all of that, we've already well surpassed our goal. I'm happy to report. 95.9% of our last year's completers have earned a high value industry credential. We're setting a new benchmark. We're only mid-year. This number could go up a little bit more. There's not much more room for it to go up, but students could still be earning a few credentials out there. There's some, as you guys know, that the students can't take until they leave us, or for whatever reason that they haven't taken. So we still support those students to take those credentials that year out. So we could keep adding to this number a bit by the end of the year, but just a tremendous celebration. The number of credentials that students are earning at West-MEC really, surpasses the whole rest of the state combined. It is truly astonishing how many credentials our students are earning. So fantastic celebration on this goal. That doesn't mean we're stopping, of course. Our current students, our current 25 completers, just as a snapshot so you guys know, our 20 students that will complete this year. I just got an update today, and we already have 70% of our students that have earned that high value credential at mid-year. And we know a lot of those are front loaded at the end of the year. So we're already on track to beat this number again next year. So phenomenal work to all our team. I think that's helped tremendously. Yes, great question. I think the parent engagement has helped tremendously to really help them understand what these credentials are. Because, you heard tonight, these students talking about all these IT credentials. If you have no idea what that means, the students are going home, how do they really support them in that effort? But really helping them understand what they are, the value, what that's going to mean to their student when they leave, I think it's made a tremendous difference. And then just system-wide, from our campus administrators to our teachers to our career services team, the tracking mechanisms that we've improved year in and year out. We're just monitoring it much better, supporting interventions early if we see gaps. It's been a tremendous help as well. So it's a culmination of a lot of good work that's making it happen.
Ms. Wiley, we have that seamless articulation of the superintendent goals down to affects performance based, so everything's aligned so that people get motivation and know that these are the goals we're after, because we can't do this, what are we as a system? These are some things we really track, and so there's a lot of motivation there to think outside the box, think about how we want to do better and get better. The next two goals here, goal number 2 and 3 are goals that it comes at the end of the year, right? We won't have the data to report till the end of the year. Our second goal is our performance on our ADE technical program assessments, that those assessments are given at the end of the school year. But a lot of work's been done to prepare to make sure we're successful at the end of the year on those assessments, to meet that 91%. Throughout the fall semester, led by Dr. Jaime and our curriculum instruction team, we had program meetings with our teachers in every one of our programs to really dig into their programs, look at their curriculum, their scope and sequence, making sure that alignment is there. We do that over the summer, but we did it again in the fall to have breakouts with all of our programs to just intervene in anything that might be need to be corrected even prior to the benchmark assessments. And then right before the winter break, we took benchmark assessments, common benchmark assessments across all campuses in our programs.
And then as soon as the first day we got back from the semester, in our schedule, you guys noticed that first day back of the winter break, our staff comes back, but it's a non-school day. And what we use that day for is to have our teachers immediately do that analysis. When they're fresh, they came back from 2 weeks and took a breath, our teachers. And then our CNI team and our campus administrators, we have that benchmark assessment data they took and they immediately did that analysis, guided analysis with our teachers to intervene right there. So we know if there was a gap in a particular unit or a content standard, then we can shore that up in preparation for end of the year assessments.
So if you remember a couple of years ago, we did relationship, we had the relationship in the MOU with Universal Technical Institute. So if our students finished our program, they got 3 free credits and then they could test out of 6 more. One of the things that I instituted a couple of years ago is when our students take those additional tests, they take those results at UTI and they share those results with our teachers, our automotive teachers, and they find out what areas are in strength, what areas are of weakness. And then when our teachers go into UTI for the summer training, they store up those areas of weakness. So we're always continually getting better and learning based on the results of our kids when they take those assessments. And we're seeing our kids do better every single year on the number of students that pass those number of assessments. Nobody else does that, but data speaks. If you understand it, then you can continue to get better. Our automotive teachers have been just phenomenal. We learn from each other. The UTI has been fantastic to do that for us.
Due to all this work, we're very optimistic. Again, this will come at the end of the year, these assessments, but we're very optimistic on the progress we're making. Things are looking very, very good. So we're excited to take those assessments at the end of the year and report back those results. Last goal here is our 93% of our program completers producing that career literacy plan. So this is really our career literacy 2.0, we call it, where we're really preparing students with multiple touch points throughout the way in a program so that they leave with that very purposeful career plan. So again, that comes at the end of the year, but so much work has been done from our teachers, our counselors, our career coaches, everyone that touches students through career tree lessons, guest speakers, field trips, mock interviews, job shadows, externships. All of those experiences are part of building this portfolio, if you will, that culminates in this plan. This year, something new, we're tracking all of this. We created a badge system in Go Tracker, which is kind of it's our system where we track all of our work-based learning hours as well as our advisory council system. We call it our Go Tracker, and we have a series of badges now for each one of these touch points that we can track along the way. So just again, a better tracking system so that we can really intervene early if we need to support a teacher, if we need some help in a different program area. And so that's something that we were able to reflect on with administrators mid-year and make those adjustments. And already our career coaches have those between March and May, those career meetings scheduled with our programs to go in and finalize that plan with students. So very confident again in this goal and where we're at to achieve that by the end of the school year. I think you guys are up next.
So goal number 4 was to go off RFP for self-funded. So as Ms. May has shared with you, we are doing that, making progress with that. We're pretty optimistic that we're going to come back to the board with a plan that is really going to be good for our organization and our staff.
Awesome. And then for goal 5, for the development of the performance pay plan, you will hear a little bit more detail later on in the agenda to talk about the actual progress and recommendation that we are making for the performance pay plan for next year. And I can certainly answer any questions at that time.
We're truly only expecting one proposal to come back on self-funding.
Yes.
For self-funding, yes.
But there's some additional information that Mr. Stark was talking about that might be helpful. So when we do that, just that discussion part if we do a work session, it might be like a 3 to a 4:30. I don't think anybody wants an extra meeting, but if we can agree to do that, then that would be during that part, but it's just really just about a discussion. Bring back some additional information about what would look like if we stayed with ASBE. What's that percentage of decrease or increase going to look like? That's just good information to have to say, we exhaust all of our resources and this is the best plan that we have available to go self-funded.
Well, that gives you the chance to make an informed decision.
Yeah. So it's good to have all, and we'll have those numbers.
Will that meeting on January 23rd be available soon, by Zoom?
No, it will be in person. The benefits committee?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They will be in person.
Okay.
That's on the 22nd, right? This will be-
Third.
23rd.
3:30 here.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ramirez.
You're the 22nd, you'll be early.
Yeah. Okay. Done with that agenda item, moving on
Motion
to
to approve the consent agenda.
or motion to approve consent agenda items.
No, it's why we.
Oh, yes.
You want to continue, I can mark her as not present for vote if you want to do that, or do you want to wait for her?
Yes or no?
Hmm?
So you can make any give a yes or no.
Yeah, when she comes in.
Hmm.
But to you, if you want to continue and make a motion in a second, just take the vote as she was.
Okay, okay, and then wait for her for the vote, okay. Yeah, I'll take a motion,
I'll make a motion.
second, okay, I have a second. And we'll wait to call the question.
It's a
Hopefully she
motion
doesn't
by
have anything
Linda
to
Wilson,
do with it.
seconded by Juan. Oh,
She doesn't have Selena.
enough? Ed.
That comes after this.
Hold up the whole thing. We're gonna approve all consent agenda. Motion is made by Linda Bosom, seconded by Ed Molina.
So I'm saying yes.
Did you have anything you wanted to pull?
Oh, no.
Good. Too late.
Huh?
It's too late.
Barbara, if you move over to item F1, your vote will come up.
Gotcha.
Action discussion. Action discussion, consideration for approval of a letter of agreement between West-MEC and John F. Long Properties. Marcy.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the board, Dr. Spurgeon. So this is just a formality. This land that we're talking about that John F. Long, we purchased from them several years ago is where our southeast campus is being built.
Mm.
And there's just this little sliver that, whenever whoever did the Alta survey didn't realize there's irrigation for the federal government on this land.
Mm.
So, yes, they would like us to give that back to the federal government, and that's what this agreement is. That we're asking you to give Dr. Spurgeon the authority to sign that. We have been successful in negotiating our money back. Okay, we bought this, we'd like our money back if we're gonna give you back the land. So you'll see that there's about $46,000 that we're gonna get back from John F. Long, so that we can declare. It's just irrigation ditch. Yeah, it was underground and they didn't realize that it was there.
Is that SRP irrigation?
I don't know, but it's federal land, and so they're gonna give it back to the Fed.
How does it affect our, the
It
purchase of the
doesn't,
land?
it doesn't have any, it's on the way far side of the land. It's not any place we would be developing anyway.
We basically sold it for $6,000 per square foot.
No, 46,000 for a fifth of an acre.
Yeah, it's 0.8 acres. It's not a very big piece of land. Yeah. And what we did was we just said what
About
the square,
8,000 square
what we
feet.
purchased this, we purchased it for a certain amount per square feet and we're just having these instead of trying to make a profit on that small parcel, because who's gonna buy that parcel?
It's about 500 square foot.
Exactly.
Tax money anyway.
We would buy it at a bargain.
What
We should sell that out.
Years ago?
But you know,
I'm sure it's gone up in value.
yeah, the average appreciation is about 5%. But it was never theirs to sell to begin with, so it's just a correction and refunding the money is what I'm hearing.
Yes, sir. That's right.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second? Second.
Frank, second by Ms. Brisbane. Which, oh, yeah.
Still out there gobbling the land.
It's open for vote. You guys, are you on the agenda item?
Yeah, H1. We're on the second one now? Okay, I didn't see, go highlight, okay, item number 2. Consideration for approval of a staff performance pay plan for non-instructional employees. Ms. Mays, welcome back.
Good evening again, Chairman Ramirez and members of the governing board. Last month, we submitted an initial proposal for a performance goal or performance pay plan for our non-instructional employees. So the first thing that we did after that meeting is we, took to heart what you all had recommended and some of the comments that you all have made, and made sure that we tweaked the plan to hopefully meet your expectations. So some of the things that we wanted to make sure that we emphasized is that these goals would be professional goals versus just personal goals. Staff members will it's all or nothing, so they will either meet the goal or they will not be eligible. We want to make sure that they're aligned to district, department, and campus initiatives. And that they have to collaborate very closely with their administrators and supervisors to make sure that they're meeting those initiatives. We do expect for our employees to work over an entire span of a school year or work calendar to meet the goal, so it shouldn't be a short-term goal. We have developed a tentative training schedule so we can make sure our employees understand what's expected of them, as well as to give training and iterator reliability to the supervisors and administrators who will make the determination whether or not the employee will meet the goal. The goal will be, or the work will be part of their regular work schedule. So we don't want to run into overtime or anything like that for the employees to meet their goals. So it has to be during their regular work day. We expect our administrators to make sure that they're checking in with the employees periodically to make sure that they're on track. For those administrators and employees that are not full-time, so that they don't lose out on this opportunity, we are recommending that if the employee works at least a 0.5, they would receive a prorated version of the award. We also talked about, just kind of different things or situations that might happen. For example, if they take a new position in the district, how is that going to affect their goal if they've already started with another administrator? And finally, it should be collaborative, collective, and coordinated. So as a recap for the eligibility and of the award, if it's approved this evening, it is a voluntary plan for employees to participate. It would be for employees that don't qualify for classroom site funds. So basically that's teachers and counselors would not be eligible. The employee has to receive an overall effective or highly effective on their evaluation in order to qualify. And the amounts are listed below based on their classification and the number of goals that they would be expected to meet in order to qualify. As a recap for the timeline, for June through August, we are going to expect our administrators to start those conversations with employees and start them early in the school year. And then August through November, they should be doing periodic check-ins with the employee to make sure that they're on track. November and December, we're expecting that they would do a formal mid-year check-in with the appropriate feedback if the employee is on track to meet their goals, as well as any other recommendations that they may have about the employee's performance. And then May to, May to June would be the end of the year sign off when they would determine if the employee met the goal. Next thing that we met on was just the goal writing criteria itself. So if you're familiar with the SMART goal concept, the goal should be, S stands for specific, M measurable, A attainable, R realistic, and T timely. So we put in the board packet presentation, just a few examples of some of the goals that a supervisor could have for the different classifications of employees. But basically, the goal should be aligned with the district's strategic initiatives. It should be collaborative. It should be done during their workday. And one of the big things that we're hoping will happen during this process is that this will give the employee to contribute something in a very unique way, other than showing up for work every day and doing a good job, but they could think outside the box and possibly come up with a new procedure or a new process, something that could benefit West-MEC employees and students.
It's gonna take them all year to implement. Pardon me? And take them all year to implement.
That is correct. It should be equitably distributed across the team. So if, for example, Joel has 7 employees that he would be doing these goals for. So he'd have to make sure that each employee had a goal that was realistic across the 7. So it's not like one employee would have this huge lofty goal and another employee might have well, that's kind of close to what you do every day. So it has to be equitable across the team. And they have to make sure that they have a timeline so that the employee always knows where they are in the process. So there's no surprise at the end of the year whether or not they're going to get the money. And then finally, here's some goal examples that we included. I won't go over all of them. But for example, for the hourly staff, something that they could do is to launch a social media campaign to encourage parents to go to the program's webpage, for example. Or, for the exempt staff, maybe they could come up with a professional development course and not only develop the course, but execute the course, do an evaluation of the course, and that may not be something that they do during their regular workday. So those are just some examples of the goals that we expect them to come up with.
Can I real quick? If we're talking annual goals, I see something here that goes October 15th to January 15th. I would expect to run closer to May, because that really looks like a half-year goal to me. Am I misunderstanding?
This is just an example,
Okay.
That we came up with, but you're absolutely correct.
So I just want to make sure, because you said, and then that just didn't align to it.
You're absolutely, thank you for catching
In
that.
that regard, this is for non-instructor employees.
Correct.
It's a 12-month goal as opposed to a 9-month.
That the teacher, yeah. Well, the teachers are 11.
Yes.
You're correct.
So Marcy, real quick, are we gonna need that information prior to June the 30th so we can pay them out of this fiscal year? Do we need to think about what that date should be, or is that? Because if not, if we get the information by June the 30th, then.
Yes, that is correct.
So
we would need to probably, I have been at districts where performance pays have been provided to classified staff, and it's May. So it's usually like by the end of the school year that they would meet their goals. And then that way we can evaluate it, and in June, it would go to our payroll department to pay them out. Because if you wait, there may be employees that leave. So then we have a whole issue now of they met their goal while they were working here, but now July 1st, they're working someplace else. Do they get their money or don't they get their money? You know, and so I would prefer it all be in a nice little neat package in the same fiscal year. Just makes logistically easier for us to maintain
So
and
when will
monitor.
this start? This will start.
July first, if the board approves this, then July first, we'll start having these conversations with our teams. And then by the end of May, make the determination whether they met or not, and then pay them out in June.
Okay.
And it just sets it back to May. So she has time to be able to make them payroll.
Okay, June of 26.
Correct.
Yes.
I would really like to see all those goals come to the board of asking for approval for the June board meeting. So that way they've done all their work and it's here and it's finalized. I guess when, what we talked about last month. And I just think about the position Ms. Mays is gonna be in. I'd really love to see this all written out in a formal policy. And the reason is she's gonna get a phone call from a supervisor. Hey, we have this really funny exception. And I really just need you to grant us this exception. And it's gonna put an unfair pressure on her to grant an exception because it's not a written policy. And then the second thing is, we have to treat everybody fairly, so we don't have some kind of discrimination. I think it'd be in our best interest to take this all and put it in a formal policy for us to adopt.
So you're talking about a policy or an approval process?
A board policy that Ms. Mays would implement as part of.
Does that line up with our board responsibilities?
So typically what you see similarly to the CSF fund is a document or a handbook that's attached to your website. It's the employees have access to it. So all of the rules are spelled out, written out, the eligibility, everything is written out, but it's not a policy. It's more or less informational. So that's typically what we see.
That's traditional for the board to make that decision.
Typically, the board approves the plan itself and the funding, and then we work on creating the document and making sure that we spell out all the eligibility and the rules.
Mark, it's easy for us to bring back a report of how many actually met, not met, and the total cost payout.
Yeah, because it's money, I believe the board has to approve that funding. So my thought is we should have to approve the goals in August. I don't want to micromanage and know what. I have this two things. Not for the board to discuss the goals, but to know the goals are there. And it's set in August so that people know there's a timeline. And then the same thing you say to us in July, or June, everybody's met the goals. We're asking for the authorization for Marcy to cut the check June 30th. But that way, there's specific timelines that need to happen so that you don't get that, hey, we need to make this special exception. And the timeline, everything's worked out. Are you following what I'm saying?
No, for sure. And then typically, I know like with I'm just comparing it with the CSF payouts is there's a list of employees that typically go to the board that has their name and the amount of money and that's what you're actually approving.
I was under the impression when we talked about this last year that we were looking to have a performance pay plan for everybody. And eliminate the, across the board percentage. Is that what everybody else thought, or did I misunderstand?
So I believe that's what the board asked for. And what I heard from Dr. Spurgeon is, and that's what I didn't see in here, maybe is some more details in your document is, hey, we're going to say, instead of doing just a flat percentage increase, we're going to tie in that document that you're talking about building, we're going to tie a recommendation of a percentage to inflation, let's say. I'm just doing a hypothetical example. Hey, we'll tie it to the Arizona Inflation Index, and then the other part would be this compensation, but that's all part of that document of how is this going to, I know you talked about it briefly, but that's, I think, what I'm from a board member looking for. Hey, how are you going to implement this? We've talked about a lot and you've put a lot of detail.
So then you're talking in lieu of a flat rate, right?
Yeah.
So it's more towards their pay, right?
Right, I was thinking of a performance pay plan
Based on
for everybody, you know, so that, I mean, there's employees that really, you know, they come to work and, you know, da, 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 that's it. You know, do they warrant a raise?
But I've
You
got
know.
another question. We had an employee of the month up here tonight talking.
Mhm.
He didn't have a plan when he came in there to do the shit, the stuff. The stuff that he did. But so how does he get a bonus for what he did? Because he saw a problem and he came up with a solution. You know,
Well,
apart
this
from
would have
what he
been, that would have been
does.
his goal this year.
Yeah.
If we would have had this,
But
if
he,
he,
but this gonna happen all the time. I mean, and I lived my life that way. It's like I see a
Some
problem and
people
I
step
come
up
up with a
to the plate,
solution.
they don't need any encouragement.
So-
My discussion that I had with his boss after the
Man.
pictures was that I think, and it was because he was there, but I think as a general rule, we need to look at those kinds of things and let me step back a minute. I look at everything from a business perspective. What is the ROI in what we're doing? Okay?
Yeah.
So figure a way, my discussion with the boss,
Man.
figure a way to quantify what he did and how it reduced cost or improved efficiencies that equals dollars. In the long run, it equals dollars, one way or the other. Either you save time, you increased efficiency, you had less people had to work on this, you know, you saved them time by doing the things that you did.
It's that way businesses have always worked. If someone comes up with this life-saving or a money-saving
Yes.
apparatus in the assembly line, they've got a bonus. But it wasn't a planned solution. They didn't know there was a problem.
But the problem is, because we're dealing in a governmental organization.
State employees.
We
correct.
have a different set of criteria, and we need to make that available to everybody, so we need to document, and that's why, in my opinion, why we need to write these things down to make it available to them. Now, there's always an issue of I'd call them cost of living adjustments, so to speak, the inflation thing that you brought up earlier, okay? That applies to everybody. If it's 3%, okay, everybody's got a 3% raise. When we go out and do salary surveys for various industries, and we look at what's it take to hire a firefighter today versus what it took to hire that same person, same qualifications 5 years ago. Well, it's in order to keep up with the industry, in order to keep the employees here and not have them wander off someplace else, you're gonna need to come up to this rate. So that goes to the annual, biannual, whatever pay increases. But then you have the issue with this young man who did way above and beyond that merits a pay, in my opinion, that pay bonus, if you will.
I mean,
Well, and that's why I think we should go to a pay performance plan for everyone instead of going through a.
but I look at this as, I know what you're asking for. Maybe this is the first step. You know, we have a across the board raise and some performance raise. And they will evaluate it over a couple of years and they'll say, hey, you know what? Our high performers, this incentive pay has really motivated our high performers. We want to move more towards that because we're seeing more motivation. But I think I would almost say it's a test and learn environment. Let's test it a little bit here and say, hey, then they can evaluate, are people really motivated by money? Do they work harder because they can make more during the year? And if so, administration will come back and say, you know what Mrs. Bosom said 3 years ago, 2 years ago, whatever, we hear the metrics. We need to move more towards that. But I think this, do you follow what I'm saying? Does it make sense? It's like you kind of test it with this, and say, hey, maybe that's part of the thing after 2 years. We can sunset it after 2 years and say, hey, come back with a recommendation or
Pressing
something.
some of our teachers.
Well, but the
Well,
teachers.
teachers already are in something with
Aren't
Prop
some
301.
programs more demanding than others and deserve more of a scrutiny and
This is for non-teachers because teachers
Oh, I'm sorry.
301 funds. So
Yeah,
it's
you're right.
non-teachers, classified staff, administrators.
Well, that still may apply though. Some positions are more demanding or more difficult to fill.
We do have that built in our salary schedule with those hard to fill positions, so there are some additional stipends. Here's the issue that we face is most school districts actually have a salary schedule. So I'm a first year teacher and I come in and make $33,000 a year. My level 2 next step might be 33.5. West-MEC doesn't have that, so we don't give a across the board raise. Our teachers and staff get nothing. So this was, if I remember correctly, and I think I'm correct. This performance pay plan was to reward or award those doing things above and beyond their current call of duty. So what we're doing right now tonight is completely separate from the annual raise that we need to propose for our classroom teachers, because if not, the bonus that we give them if they earn a performance pay doesn't go into their salary in perpetuity. It's just a one-time salary, which means their salary would never increase, never. So that's why there's two separate pots. We're asking you to do something above and beyond your current salary or your current call of duty to move West-MEC forward. If you do these kinds of things that's approved by the supervisors, we're gonna give you a little extra each year you do that. This 2%, 3%, 4% is completely separate from moving our staff, as well as the 1% we had in our salary schedule. Mr. Malina, you talked about the cost of doing business this year is even more expensive than the cost of doing business last year. That's why we added that 1% into the initial salary schedule was 65,000 to start. Now it's 65.2 or 65.3. So each year you got to continue to look at how can we boost that up just a little bit at a time. So every new employee coming in can start a little bit higher based on the qualifications or those hard to fill positions. So you have to look at it in two separate buckets of performance.
Just out of curiosity, have you gotten any sensing of how many of the folks that would be covered by this program would be interested?
We did a survey as part of our work, and I want to say we had an 85% response rate of the employees, and we sent it to all the employees that were eligible. So overwhelmingly, they were interested in participating.
That's interesting.
And it's, I think, really going back to what Mr. Molina was saying, it's really, hey, there will be a certain, when the supervisors, the leaders provide the goals, they know there has to be some kind of ROI. Hey, we're gonna be paying you $2,000. I expect that $10,000 or $20,000 savings because of something. It might be something simple like evaluating, just as a hypothetical, it would take along, moving all the trash companies to the same contract. That sounds really simple. I think we have 2 or 3 different providers and it's 12 different contracts or something. Moving that all to the same might sound simple, but there's like 90-day termination and so forth. So
are we tracking the impact of these projects that we're gonna reward them for?
We will be able to, we will be able to.
See if it had a cost savings or if it was just a process that alleviated.
see, I would expect that the August and June board is like, hey, in August, this is the total, it's $5.3 million in savings. And then in June, we would say, hey, this is what we paid out and this is what the district saved on this automation or whatever these goals were.
But it could be an increase in students in a specific program where you're trying to hard to fill. And it could be an increase of
to additional
$3 million because we had 25 students versus 3 apply. So it's those kinds of things. And I'm not opposed to bringing those goals to the board, separated by department, so you can see them. Not that you can respond to it. That's really kind of micromanaging, as you know, but to see that, but to be able to, at the end of the school year, put some sort of ROI or cost factor and or cost savings or cost, what do you call it? Prohibition, you don't have to spend a certain amount of money or what event, but there's also performance issues that you could see increases in performance in students, whether that's credentials or whatever it might be. So I think there's multiple things. We'll have to kind of figure that out, kind of building the plane as it goes. But I think this is a great step in the right direction to be able to say, we want you as an employee, not only to value your work at West-MEC, but how can you be more creative and innovative to make us a better organization?
Well, I do like this, but I would say that I'm not into micromanaging, as you know. And so I want to make sure that we're not micromanaging and we
It would
stick
be a
it to.
consent agenda item is what I would expect.
Well, we gotta be careful that we're not trying to make decisions of the superintendent or the staff.
Yeah, we could really get.
Yeah.
I don't wanna be
Yeah.
consulting goals, but I think for, if I was a staff member, seeing my goal being presented to the board would say how important my work
Examples,
is.
I mean, I'm not opposed to that. Examples are just some kind of high level. This is the things, because of this, we got that, or, you know, something.
So we're gonna have close to 100. So we'll have probably close to 100 goals. I think I saw the numbers on it's probably close to 100 plus. So just divided by department. So it's just the goals listed and basically the total amount that will be awarded if every single person met their goal.
And what is the total amount if everybody,
196,000.
no, it's more than that.
Some are
Based
two
on,
and
based on
four.
those numbers.
Well, some are 2 and 5, 4 and 5,000.
It was 236,000, and then we also corrected, was it 14?
12 to 14.
Right, so what was the total
I
again?
mean, we have a $60 million budget. I don't want to spend a lot of time on $236,000. But I think for the staff to see that my goal has been presented to the board says something, and because it's a financial item, I believe the board has to, we have to approve every contract. We have to approve every $5 expense to target. So this is a goal, we would have to approve it in some form. It would have to come to the board, just like all the vouchers.
I think for auditing purposes, I think it's the cleanest way to do it for auditing purposes. So it basically shows the auditor that this is what you're approving and for what.
I usually like to see some kind of
I think it's right. It's not micromanaging, it could be a consent agenda item, it's the goals, it's the amount that we paid out if everybody got it, and then there's some ROI or some analysis done at the end of the year about these goals and what do they do to make West-MEC better.
And we don't.
Just
get
for
involved
giggles,
in the
what is
ROI.
it?
And also,
What's the total, what is it?
If we multiply the numbers on the sheets here, it's 244,000.
How much?
244,000.
out of $60 million.
And if you do 80% of that, 195.
I think that's
The,
right.
the amount of money that I had given them to work with them was 260. So we came out a little bit less than that. Because I'm looking at the big picture again, because we would also want to be able to have money available for a cost of living increase. So we did talk about that because that's important as well.
I think it's good though. I think it's good for auditing purposes to show.
But also, I think it's a benefit for a staff member who wants to kind of test a different skill. They can find that skill and they can get rewarded for learning a new skill by bringing value.
Encourages innovation also.
Yeah.
And my was the #1 school already, so it's gonna be a tough lift either way.
Yes, it is.
Motivation to think differently. Because there are some things that you can do, and if there's a little motivation there, and it's contagious. So when you start seeing some progress and some success, it tends to bring a little bit different thinking about how we do our work. And believe me, I mean, we're at the top, but there's always ways we can get better. And great organizations continue to look for ways to get better when they're there.
Well, and especially there's people, there's people throughout this building that are, we could save money if we did this. It's like, hey, now they have a vehicle to say, hey, we could save money if we just did this and changed this. And it's like, that's a great goal. Thank you for recognizing it. We can reward you at the end of the year. And like you said, it's contagious and everybody starts to see, oh, you know what? I can do this.
Yeah,
So
some people are just really good at streamlining their processes. And other people go along with the process.
So going forward, in February, Dr. Spurgeon will be going out to all the campuses. I think that's the T-shirt distribution dates where we would like to, if it is approved by the governing board, to at least initially talk about the performance pay plan. But in April, we would like to do a formal training to all employees. And then it's really important for us to do what's called inter-rater reliability, to your point, Board Member Straka, where we want our supervisors to work together and kind of think ahead of time, what does this mean for my department? How can I be creative? Not just, rely on the employee to come up with something, but really be strategic and intentional about how they want their employees to move through this process. And then in July, we would launch the plan.
I have a question about, you mentioned something about the goals being equitable across a group.
Uh-huh.
And I'm wondering, why is that, why would that be necessary if we already have an outlined set of requirements that each goal has to meet? Wouldn't we rather be better to compare that individual's goal to that set of requirements rather than Sally's or Bob's goals, because they may have completely different goals. Wouldn't it be best to just compare it to that standard objective requirement scale?
Well, that concern actually came up from the committees, is they were concerned that if I'm a member of a team, based on my role, like let's say I'm an administrative assistant, okay? And hourly staff get the same amount of, the award's the same, but then you have someone next to me who may have a different role, and they're doing this plan that is way more technical, more complicated. I think their concern is it really fair for the person who has a lot more boxes that they have to check off to meet their goal versus this employee over here who has fewer? So that's why the equity across the team issue came up. So the supervisor could be thinking of, and you're correct, it should be based on what the department needs, but they also should be cognizant of what are you asking that employee to do? And how does that compare to all the employees in your department?
Because in my mind, I'm thinking, if you already have a set of requirements and that individual's goal doesn't meet those requirements, that automatically disqualifies it.
Correct.
Why even get into the whole, my opinion, and whether this is equitable or not equitable? Hers is way higher, so you gotta.
They wouldn't be we don't expect them to share that amongst the team.
Mhm.
It's just something that we are definitely going to make sure that the supervisors are thinking about.
Okay. So we wouldn't compare or disclose each other's goals to the other team members within that department? Is that what you're saying? It's just between that employee and the supervisor?
Correct.
Okay.
As long as what's presented in August is that administrative content and not regular board, but then you get to see everybody's goals. They wouldn't necessarily be named, that would have to be attached there. But it would just be department and then employee 1 through 10, you would see the goals there without having names attached. If not, then everybody can see everybody's goals.
Now, we're looking for the supervisors to identify those goals, or you want the employees to?
It should be collaborative, right? Because we want to encourage employees to come up with these new ideas, new processes, new systems. But we also would like our administrators to be thinking about what exactly do you need to move your department forward? And based on the feedback you get from that employee, how can you all together make that happen?
Well, I, as a supervisor, have a meeting with my employees and I say, okay, here's the goals that we want to accomplish during this year. By 3 days from now, I want you to come back to me and tell me how you would solve this problem. Excuse me, how do you solve those problems? Give me your best ideas. Well, I got idea A, B, and C. And okay, then this is gonna be your goal.
That might be a good place to start.
I would hope, when you talk about goals for the year, in my past life, we always started talking about goals for next year in November and October for 2025. And so they should be talking to their team in May and June about, this is my vision for next year. And then they can start to think about the goals. If they're doing it in a 3-day cycle, well, Peter.
Yeah, that.
It's just.
I'm not suggesting 3 days.
It's like Dr. Spurgeon is not gonna come up with his goals in July for 2025, 2026. He's probably already thinking about them.
Yeah, they're all online all the time, but I'm already better.
I wasn't suggesting that time frame. That was just an example.
I don't see anything wrong with employees knowing each other's goals. Because
They're not competing.
they're not competing, but also, hey, you know what? Ed had a great idea, and you know how that would work in my team? I could do a similar thing. And so it's almost like collaborative if they know goals, or partway through the year, hey, I know Ed is working on this. I just saw this great new software that would help him meet his goal. There's nothing wrong with that. So I don't see any problem with
The only
sharing
concern I
goals.
would have though is if these conversations start to venture into performance. So if.
That's between a leader and.
That is definitely between.
Performance is between a leader and employee, but what the goal is okay.
We help each other further develop their goal.
So, Mr. Lena, one of the things that's really kind of interesting that you may or may not know and understand is that oftentimes people don't understand what they do every day, how that contributes to improving the organization. And so in the last community meeting, is Joel back there? Joel, remember I asked you to have a conversation about trying to get people to understand what is it you do on a daily basis to help the district achieve those goals? And most people probably don't know the answer to that until you ask those questions. So when you have these conversations about these goals together, it will allow someone to understand, okay, well, I didn't realize how much what I did every single day contributes to meeting the credential goal or meeting whatever goal you might have. So my superintendent goals are what people go off of when they start writing their strategic plans and their tactical plans. But it's each individual knowing and understanding what I do every single day really does matter. And if you ask that question, most people really don't know the answer to that question.
Well, is that something that could be incorporated into the PD for the employees?
Conversations, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
And I didn't know Joel was here. So I'd like to publicly acknowledge Joel for all of his contributions to this process. He really truly has helped me and put, ideas together and systems. He's got forms and everything. He's working on, so we are really ready to go with the governing board approves.
Some problems are easier than others to write goals. I can promise you that.
I'd be happy to make a motion to approve this. I would just like to see that document you were talking about written with all the details so that you don't get caught on, hey, we need to make this exception. It's important that everybody's treated the same. We don't want to end up with we did this great thing and we end up with a discrimination lawsuit because this goal was too hard and this person was a woman over 50, so we're now in a lawsuit versus the guy under 25 had an easy ride. So we gotta protect Kathy from extra work as well.
Can we modify that a little bit to make sure we can modify the timeline that matches what Marcy needs to have in order to be able to pay out as well?
Right, so I wanna see that all in that document so that we have something that prevents Ms. Mays from having to do extra work on discrimination or exception management.
Read the classroom science fund plan, but we anticipate, and Joel and I have talked about this growing over time, because that is so spelled out, every single scenario to eliminate a lot of that pushback and those questions. So we will work on that together and bring something to the.
Like if they move jobs, if they don't, they have to be here the whole year, all those things that we assume we want to see in that document so that
I can appreciate that.
Protect the school as much as possible, as from lawsuits.
Yeah.
What is your motion again? Can you repeat the
So
motion?
just to approve the plan as presented with the we will get the understanding of, we will get the document of not the policy, but whatever she called it, the SFP. So that we know how it's.
Handbook, performance plan handbook.
Whatever it's going to be,
Include the timeline.
to include timelines and everything to protect the district from the things that we've discussed and.
Do I have a second? Mr. Molina, okay. Any further discussion? No, okay, hearing none, call for the question. Mr. Molina.
Can you put the scoreboard up for me, please?
I have to log back in.
I have motion to approve the staff performance pay plan for instructional employees at plan as presented with the understanding that the board will be provided a performance plan Performance pay plan, pay plan, performance pay plan handbook. Okay.
Guardians live no athletes.
Can you say that 3 more times but faster?
Yeah, professional. It's open for voting. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. And moving on to agenda item I, future agenda items. Anyone have any future agenda items you'd like to add?
I do.
Mr. Garcia.
Sure. So, we used to get legislative updates.
Oh, that's right.
And we are in a new legislative session. I'd be very curious what bills we're seeing that are getting ready to be pushed for, that would impact our school. And its status. So I think if we can get that in our meetings.
Yeah.
Should be on that list.
Yeah.
I thought
Ms.
there was
Boozer?
somebody that was gonna be doing stuff like that,
Yeah, was there
kind of
somebody?
taking over for CJ.
Yeah.
I can give you the zoning.
I'm on the mail server now, so I just signed the forms to be I guess I'm a lobbyist now, I don't know. Certain things you have to do if we're gonna talk to legislators, so.
The pay raise.
And then, Ms. Bosom, you had something else?
Yeah, a few months ago, Scott, myself, Louisa, and I think it was, Julie, Yeager went to one of the Trust Alliance, seminars. And we were very, very surprised to find out how politicized they really, really are. And they work hand in hand with ASBA. So they're just not apolitical, and I don't think that anybody that writes our policies and stuff like that should be political. So I would like to bring to the board, maybe we can vote on it next month. I think we voted last year to be part of the coalition of school board members. Now, I went ahead and renewed my my membership. We probably all need to as well. They provide all the training and stuff like that. They have a model of policies that we can either write ourselves and have an attorney go ahead and make sure that they are in compliance with state statute. Or we can have an attorney, you know, we give them like the policies that we want to write and have him put them together. I've talked to an attorney. And his name is Tim Lasota. He works with the Coalition of School Board Members. And he kind of gave me a little bit of a structure as far as what he would ask for in payment. Now, last year, we paid the Trust Alliance $6,000 to write our policies. And every year thereafter, it's $495. We also pay them $123,000 for unlimited attorney fees, but that doesn't include bond elections. But in total, all total, when we start, you know, looking at all our liability and stuff like that, and Marcy, please jump in if I'm not explaining this right. We pay a total of $753,000.56 to the trust for attorney's fees.
We've already paid that amount.
Can I just clarify?
Oh, you jump
That's
right in.
not for attorney fees, that's for our whole liability coverage.
Yes.
So liability for everything, so we, you know, and we can present if the board gives us direction to.
And we still use other attorneys.
They're all trust attorney, all from the trust though.
That's
because-
just for
because
the
they're
trust.
discounted.
Yes, sir.
So.
Hey, for them.
It varies depending on the type of work they do.
And who they are. From.
Okay, so that's
So,
agenda.
Tim Lasota would charge, he said if we wrote our own policies and we went ahead because the trust, coalition of school board members, he has a model of policies that we can go through. Now, it's typically for K through 12, but we can come up with our own policies and he would go through them and make sure that they comply with state statute. He would charge us a flat fee of $3,000. It's about 10 hours worth of work.
Okay.
He said if we pick out some policies that we really like, and he has to write them, it's about 20 hours of work and he would charge $6,000 flat fee.
Well, we can get into the details.
Yeah.
We'll consider the cost and an attorney, hiring an attorney, whether we decide to hire an attorney
Okay,
or not.
yeah, I would like to see that the board hires their own attorney. I think because the Trust Alliance, our attorneys come from the Trust Alliance. They also do everything for West-MEC and then they also represent the board. And I really believe that that's a conflict of interest and that we should have our own attorneys as well as West-MEC have their own attorneys. I don't know if you would like to have Tim Lasota come and present to the board. You know, I can
Mr.
ask
Chairman,
him.
I think we're getting too deep into what this future agenda item
Okay.
is. So I think,
Well, I would
Okay.
still need, I would need direction so that I can go and talk to him. So, but I'd like to have that put on next agenda.
Can I just make one small, first of all, I appreciate your diligence in looking to spend our dollars wisely. My concern that I hope the board will consider in this conversation is that outside the attorneys that we do use through the trust, they are school law attorneys. And school law, and I found out very, very recently how it works so differently than other areas of law. So a lawyer is trained in real estate, probate, all of that. But the more we venture outside that school attorney window, if you will, we really could be putting ourselves at risk because I help with the policies, but I am not an attorney.
Yes,
You know, so-
and exactly.
that
And
would-
so the
yeah.
coalition of school board members is, that's what. they're
Yeah, we
all
can
about,
put
is
this on the,
schools.
we can't right now because it's not in the agenda, we can't get into discussion. But we can put it on the, as an agenda item to discuss and then reach out to whichever attorney we decide
Yeah.
to reach out to at that time.
Well, I guess the trust expires in June and we have to renew it in July. So it's something that we have to
move
do
in
right.
pretty soon.
We have to
Okay.
move on it.
Excellent, thank you. Anything else?
I do have an agenda item. As we start to think about, what's next for West-MEC. Some interesting stats I've seen over the past, actually 2 weeks. One is, since 2007, the average family size and birth rate has dropped from 2.2 to 1.6, which means we're gonna have 75% of the students that we have last year than we will in the next. So there's a lot of districts that are gonna be closing schools. Statistically, every district will close 25% of their schools over the next 18 years, assuming no one goes to a charter school. If they lose more students to a charter school, they'll even close more buildings. So as West-MEC thinks about the next steps, and our bond, what should we do? And I know some areas are growing, but the other challenge that is equal to that is people are living longer and they are staying in their homes longer. So when you see these areas that used to have 30 kids at a school bus, the families are still there, but the kids have grown and there's no one going to school. So they need to move these schools from this older area over to where they're building new homes for families. My concern is we're putting a lot of growth into that Algernon area where Maryvale, the students have grown and they're gone. Are we doing the right thing? Should we be looking at projections and maybe West-MEC campuses?
Up to the southwest campus out there, the growth of the
Right.
West Valley is exceptional. You got what's going on in California, they're all coming over here, and it's all about affordable housing. I mean, it ain't gonna slow down.
Well,
for
but
us.
that's what I worry about is because Southwest is in an
Like a
older
study.
part of town. is that really the right investment to continue to go to? So I'd love to see some details taking these two things into account
Like a
because
demographic study of. the future.
demographics
Okay.
and, you know, how does that play into West-MEC's growth to, if we were to bond?
Well, I can also tell you that we haven't captured all the student body yet in the CTE anymore. So we still have a lot of fish out there that we need to grab. That are kids that are not in a seat, they're not coming to West-MEC.
And what I'd love to see in our campuses, I'd love to see how far they're coming. Because our biggest challenge is Paradise Valley. Well, Paradise Valley goes all the way out to Pima and Shea. And the closest campus is Deer Valley at 19th Avenue in Deer Valley. That's a haul for a student. So as we think, I just would love, I want to make sure we take everything into account as we start to.
To talk even, because that's more in their area. No.
Paradise Valley is a member of us.
Oh, I know they are, but do they have the option of even?
No.
Patrons have to vote them out of West-MEC and into EVIT.
One of the things that you mentioned the birth rate going down from 2.2
to 1.6, yep.
Right. That's a national average.
I'd love to see where does that fit in Arizona?
We're localized for the state of Arizona, and even if we get one for Phoenix.
Chair
that's what we would
Ramirez,
get.
I must remind you that the conversation
Yes,
that is being discussed hasn't been agendized, and I'm gonna have to.
So I just think we have to do a
Yes.
demographic study for our bond.
Later on, I gotta get to.
Any additional agenda items?
A motion to.
I motion to adjourn.
Just cut to the quick.
I have a motion by Robert Garcia and a second by Edward Molina.
Discussions are interesting, but we have to be careful not to get too detailed.
Chairman, one of the things we're gonna talk about is transportation, so that's something that's gonna come a little bit later, because that grant is.
Well, and we've seen a lot of success with that.
I'm not sure we're gonna move it.